Hello, ladies. How you doing? Let's give them a round of applause. Aren't they looking amazing? Yeah? Yeah? Female panel for the day. What? How are you ladies doing?
We're great. Hi, guys. How are you doing?
Yeah?
What's up? Hi, how you doing? I'm good.
I like that. So, here we are. We're talking about your journeys. Do you guys mind taking turns just introducing yourselves? A lot less than the, super bio well written. Feel free to do it how you do it with your very large audiences. Oh yeah, let's go, Tahle.
Hello, my name is Tahle, Dzinza. And above all, I would say I'm a storyteller. In everything that I do, I want to push the African narrative and the African experience through the things that I do. So whether it's my music, whether I'm partnering with a brand to tell a story, it's all about pushing the African narrative. That's who I am at my core. Yeah.
Oh, give it up.
Hi everyone, my name is Ruvarashe Hapaguti, and on social media they know me as Mamii. So I am a content creator, and I'm not only limited to being like the actor behind the camera, I'm also into filmmaking as a whole, from script writing, conceptualization, to cinematography, producing, editing, everything. I'm hands-on when it comes to my content. And like what Tahle said, I really want and aim to push the original African story, which is where I am from.
Amazing. So I think I'm going to start off with what most people assume when it comes to creating content and having such large audiences. A lot of people assume that it's all about posting frequently and just making a lot of noise, or that it's accidental. Do you guys, starting with Mamii, do you mind answering this one? Looking back at your growth, would you say everything that's happened so far was a careful plan, sheer luck, or a welcome accident?
Okay, so when I started content, actually, growing up, I was actually not so confident. I grew up in a Christian household. So basically, my mom was a pastor and she'd had some sort of plays she'd want me involved in. So I was one of those kids that was really pushed to the stage, but it was not in me, if it makes sense. So when I finished my high school, which was during my A break, in that time, there was this whole peer pressure of, oh, you need to glow up, you need to show the world that, you're looking on point, etc., which was peer pressure. So my friend and I were so much interested in this application that was called TikTok. In the time, it's still around. But this was back in 2018, 2017. So we were limited to actually expressing ourselves on TikTok because the phones we had didn't have that much visual quality. So our aim was to get phones that were good enough. As soon as I got that phone, I found myself creating content that was based off of the peer pressure of wanting to, show a glow up of how my life is looking. But as I was actually going through the generated content that was on TikTok, I actually found interest in other content that actually targeted people's emotions, that was comic, that was funny, etc. I found myself creating that content. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, it came as a hobby. It was out of boredom.
Wow.
I uploaded my first video, and in the time, I didn't have any followers on TikTok. I had 500 followers on Instagram. I uploaded it on Instagram instead. And the feedback I got from the people that followed me is what encouraged me to make more videos. So the journey of now making this a proper career and professionalizing it came later on. But it all started as a hobby. I never knew I was initially wanting to be this big icon or be someone of big influence. I just started as art. And for me, it's something that I adore because it then resembles how I create from passion, if it makes sense. I started with no goal of monetary value, with no goal of, oh, I then want this in return. But it started as something I enjoyed doing in my free time. And It has, till this day, continued to be about that.
Wow. So I know my audience really, really well. I mean, I've been doing this for a while, 10 years of Com Exposed is a long time. So I'm going somewhere with this. So my audience will hear that, Eugene's gonna have a conversation, and then we'll drop this guy has gone to film festivals. And everyone's like, I'm gonna pay attention, right? And then we'll say something like, oh, this guy did something for Disney. And they're like, of course I'm paying attention. So I pulled a fast one on you yet again. So Mamii over here is the only Zimbabwean that I know who has been acknowledged and invited over to Meta. Oh, I said Meta, that Meta. Zuckerberg Meta, that one. Oh yeah, I like that, the attention. Yeah, you see, I did it to you. To represent her country as an actual influencer. You see, she's super humble, so she didn't bring that up. Oh yeah, Shingi over there is like, yeah, now you're talking. Lead with that next time. So, if you're interested in accessing the knowledge that got her to places like that, oh, by the way, if you're curious while we're having this conversation, use the Telco network. It's completely open. Telco is our event sponsor. We love you, Telco. And you'll be able to access Instagram and check out her profile. Mamii, how do you spell Mamii?
That's M-A-M-I-I, so M-A-M-I-I. Or you could just search my full name, Ruvarashe Hapaguti. It still pops up.
All right. And then we're going to talk about her trip to Meta and all the amazing international influencers she met there and learned from them. But now that I've got your attention, let's talk to Tahle.
I think my journey has some similarities with Mamii.
Yes.
For me, I actually despised social media. I hated being front and center. But I think the changing point for me was, what would I want to offer my audience rather than what social media can do for me? And that was, the flip the script for me. And I decided to just be a storyteller. And that's how my platform grew. And it was very interesting because for me, it started off as, the planning of content, wanting to find out what my audience would be interested, but it became more of fusing my truth and what I felt was unique to what other people would be offering, and that's how I found my spark, so to say.
Wow,
yeah.
That's an interesting one. So, Tahle, I think when people mention Tahle with Dzinza, they imagine Tahle with Dzinza, the musician, the singer, and you've had to adjust to the ups and downs of social media, trends that conflict with people's, conflict or grab people's attention at any given time from music. So my question for you is, how do you sustain interest among your followers and avoid that fall in numbers?
For me, I think I'll attack it in 2 stages. I used to be very, very obsessed with numbers. If I just moved from, 49.1K, I would be hyperventilating. But what I really wanted to see was the engagement. For me, that was the most important thing for me, and how my audience relates to me. So for me, my benchmark is having people come to me directly or in the comments and telling me how my content is influencing them or impacting them. And the second thing for me is, because primarily people knew me as a musician or know me as a musician, but social media is a totally diverse platform, and we are all, I wouldn't want to say competing, but for lack of a better word, competing for space. I merged into the quote-unquote influencer realm, where I fuse music to create different marketing products for my clients, or ways to grasp their attention. So it's not deviating for my core purpose on social media, but also roping in other elements which allow people to be zoned in and tuned in for as long as possible.
Yeah, you've kind of leveraged social media to start your own brand recently,
yes.
haven't you? Do you want
Yes.
to talk about that briefly?
So at heart, I am an entrepreneur, so I start, fail until I get the right rhythm. So my newest baby is called Mozi. It's an Afrocentric brand. And so I started that about 4 months ago. And it's so interesting how social media can create a persona for even non-people brands, and I've seen how women go, oh my gosh, I never knew I could wear my hair like this, I never knew I could express myself like this, and I found my brand taking a life of its own. So I really feel and know that when social media is used in a correct way, or in a unique way rather, that it opens many doors, just not for your personal brand, but anything that hives off your social capacity.
Yeah, so I guess we've got living proof. It sure can open doors. Sometimes it can fly you to Paris or the UK. On that note, Mamii, would you like to share your experience from the point you got contacted by Meta and your journey all the way to that conference? I remember seeing some of my favorite content creators there with you, and you actually made some reels with guys that I really, really like. You want to share that story with us?
Okay, so when Meta approached me, right, there's this thing we have as humans where we disqualify ourselves when we actually are worth what we're worth. Does it make sense? At some point when Meta approached me, I had to go to my lawyer, and I actually thought it was a scam. I thought I was being human trafficked, and I thought these guys are lying. They just want to grab a hold of me and like, I'm gone. It was a big concern because I couldn't digest the whole idea that, listen, your brand has grown to this extent and you are being recognized by these forces.
So you had like imposter syndrome to some extent?
Yeah, like denial type situation. But to get to the point, they reached out to me because when it comes to like influencing online and building your numbers and all those sort of things, right? Corporates have like a strategy and a way in which they can see which influencers are currently like, you know, in the range of what they want to work on with. Does it make sense? So just like social media is the internet, it registers onto Google and other softwares that, you know, your numbers are growing to this extent and you are in association with such audiences and such age groups and stuff like that. So this is how Meta actually got a hold of me. This was not like an inside link where I knew so and so from there, but it's their research that they did on Zimbabwe. So as an artist, it's something that also stood out to me, that people out there are really watching to that extent. Does it make sense? So they reached out to me and they're like, yeah, we've got what we call the Creators of Tomorrow campaign that we're running. Basically, like, they're looking into content creators that have potential to create a career out of just being on social media. Because being on social media and being on a gadget almost seems unrealistic, especially if it doesn't give the monetary value in return. So they're trying to put out the debate that, listen, someone can actually have a whole life based off them doing social media full stop, if it makes sense. So they got a hold of me with that campaign, with that motto, and basically they brought different creators from around the world. They selected only 10 creatives from here in Africa, from the Southern Africa space, yeah. And I was the only one selected for Zimbabwe, which is something I took as a very big opportunity and a very big platform to represent a whole community as a whole. So I got to meet other creatives, the like of Ruth Roney, the likes of Crazy Kina. I don't know if you're familiar with those creatives from in Africa. Crazy Kina is from Uganda, Ruth Roney is from Zambia, Pamela Matanga is from South Africa. So we were the Africans that were representing Africa, like the 10 of us. And then the rest of the creatives came from the likes of the UAE, from Europe, from the USA, etc. Basically just to like round it up, because the trip was just so overwhelming and there was just a lot going on and I don't want to take too much of the time. Most of it is uploaded on my page if you'd like to know more. But what I took away from that trip was, as creatives or as artists, we tend to come to a realization that we've got a talent, right? And that's the talent that kind of like brings people together and has people curious, etc. But the realization I came to when I went to London where they hosted us was that as much as I can be a talent, I also need a host of other creatives to really bring out what is within me. I'm saying this in the sense that, like what I said at the beginning, I'm a cinematographer, I'm a script writer, I'm a producer, but I can't do all of those tasks in like one position by myself.
Like you're actually a student as well, you're a film student.
I'm also a student. I also have a life going on for me. So it's very important to also have creatives that share the same vision of you, with you, that can work with you and around you, and even suggest their ideas to you. Because as much as we can be creatives on social media, it's not every time we're in sync or in time with trends, you know. Some suggestions come from people that you coordinate together and work with. And this can help with improving the time at which you produce your content, in the sense that maybe because you're doing it by yourself, you're only able to do it once a week. But now that you've got a team of people that help you, you can get to a point of posting every day. Yeah, so that's something that I learned from bigger creators that I met there in London. It may be something small to you guys, but it's something big to me, because then that kind of like makes you reach your goals faster than slower when you're working by yourself. So that's awesome. A big takeout I took away from that trip.
Oh, trust me, I'm sure everybody appreciates going to Europe once in a while. Yeah, nothing small, yeah. On that note, Tahle, for you, what would you say is the benefit of having an alter ego? You wear many hats, no pun intended.
I think it's about storytelling. For me, I'm really huge on that. And it may be hard to believe, but I'm very shy. And so I created different personas to allow me to engage with my audience at the level that I needed to do so. So Tahle Dzinza is a persona that is, first of all, African. She is bold. My mom says, quote unquote, she is sophisticated. And it's allowed me to reach so many audiences, and through that persona, and I just want to highlight that creating a persona is not being fake. A lot of people think that it's stepping out of your own to become something else, but it is creating something that allows you to be more of yourself in a way that resonates with other people. My full name is actually Robin Anesu Ketahle Dusika Chaya Dawani, and I feel like if I came to my audience like that, it would take a lot of time for people to grasp who I am and what I'm about. But by creating this persona, I've been awarded the opportunity to sit in rooms that I didn't think I could sit in, and to be a cultural brand ambassador for such amazing institutions, such as Southern Africa Dialogue, such as HIVO, such as the UN, through that persona that I've created. And I would like to say that when creating your persona, think through it, because one thing about personas is you have to consistently show up, whether it is in real life or it's on social media. Whatever you do, it must make sense. People must be able to resonate with it. And I think a lot of people when they're on social media, they're one person. And then when people meet you, like, oh, I thought she was friendly, but she's kind of rude. I thought she was authentically this, but it doesn't match. And sometimes a lot of people actually tear down their social media platforms because of that inconsistency. So before you think about quote unquote being popular, I think you need to really think about the truth that you think you can serve, that will be consistent, that will serve you and your audience over time. Yeah.
Awesome. I've got time for a couple of questions. Okay? Trevor, you got that? Thank you.
Hello. Congratulations first on the amazing work. My question is, obviously as a content creator, at some point you're going to get burnout. How do you guys deal with that?
Do you mean like a creative block, or?
No, burnout, like, is it you guys saying you have to keep creating content and you get to that point where you just don't want to, but you also have to because that's what you do. How do you deal with that?
Well, for me, I usually create my content in bulk, for example, where I have a library of content which has not been released. So basically, when I have my own personal, life going on where I'm not even in the energy to be the person that I'm meant to be in my career, I still have a library to take from. Because if there's one thing that I came to the realization of is sometimes because it's a whole, profession and stuff, you really feel that you need to be on the constant urge to work type situation. It's okay to give yourself rest. It's okay to actually acknowledge the feelings that you're probably having. It's okay to actually, step into your mental health and be there for yourself before you're there for others like that. Do you get me? So sometimes to kind of like cover the gaps such that I don't have a situation where my audience feels starved or they can literally see that I'm going through the most, I usually have a library of stuff that I would have worked on that I then pull from and post, because it's not that the whole world has to know, what you're going through, because sometimes, especially with working with corporates, it can affect your contracts. But it's a reality that you're actually going through that stuff. For me.
Awesome. Do I have any other questions? Yes, we got a question right here.
Can everyone hear me? I think so. Okay. Farham Dzinza, Story Untold. Thank you guys for the insightful talk, and congratulations on the work that you guys have been doing. This question is particularly directed to Mamii. You mentioned a lawyer at some point. At which point of your career does this become like a reality? Like, when does it dawn on you that I need a lawyer to like protect my interests? And how did you go about setting up those structures?
Okay, so for me personally, when it started stepping into the paperwork, you get me? Because I personally don't have knowledge to do with contracts. It's something I can research on, but it's not something that I academically have history on. So I had different business institutions that would want me to put a signature onto the paper concerning the things we'd work on. So there are certain nitty-gritties that you might miss, that you might sign yourself into, that may limit your growth to some extent in your own personal view. So I tapped into incorporating a lawyer into my brand when the contracts started coming in. But you don't have to wait for the contracts. You can still tap into getting lawyers when you feel like your work is being like taken from you, like copyright issues, where you create stuff, but probably your platform isn't as big enough to actually acknowledge that you created, and then there's some people that come and take it with bigger platforms, and there's so many stuff that like happens that where you feel suppressed in work, that you need to then incorporate someone that can stand for you without you actually losing because you're a brand, you have certain issues you'd want to express. Like, everyone gets angry when something happens on the internet. But now you're no longer in the stage where you can go live and address people directly. You get me? So there's certain stuff where you then need like a group of people, if it's not a lawyer or anyone with knowledge that is, something that can protect you, to then speak to concerning issues before acting on it. So for me, I got to that moment when my brand got bigger, like I said, and the papers started coming in. Papers I didn't understand. Papers that wanted to sign me in for a whole year. Yeah, that's when it all came in. And as well as clients that wanted me to travel outside of the country, etc.
Yeah, I think, yeah, sure.
So in terms of like people taking content, using it to further their own like pages, right? In your case, that's probably like, I think, super common that people will take a skit that you've done, and to brands in Zimbabwe, or at least the pages that do this, do they actually like respond and take these things down if like they're approached by a lawyer, etc.?
Yeah, like If you feel that, okay, for example, let me speak in my case. I've got a certain character I created on my social media platforms. It's called Mamii. So basically, this character wears a gown and it wears a bonnet, which is something most of us have in our wardrobes at home. But there's a fine line between being copied and being an inspiration to people, if it makes sense. So some creatives I've seen, they don't necessarily copy me. They copy the outfit, but they are speaking other things. They may copy the whole scenario of it being a mother, but they're actually voicing out other opinions. So I'm not too quick to act on copyright issues because it can be very sensitive. People can really feel like, I feel like I created this. I didn't copy you, But it's okay to go into someone's comment section and be like, yo, can you please give credit? Or you can go to their inbox, hi, could you kindly give credit on the stuff that you, because also if they give credit, it's kind of like removes the whole they copied me because they've shown that I got it from so and so. But situations like that come up a lot, but I don't allow them to really drag me so much because I understand that the position I'm at is almost like so many people also aspire to have 1 or 2 or 3 things that I've probably managed to achieve. So they're probably inspired, you get me? But if it's a thorough thing where someone copies, they do respond. If they don't respond, there's so many other ways you can get a hold of someone. You can find some people that associate with them, find out their name, their address, and having a lawyer helps you professionally approach those people without involving emotions, because genuinely you're angry, you get me? But like having a lawyer, a letter is sent, they also understand where they went wrong, etc. Yeah,
Awesome. Just in closing, Tahle, you were cast in a short film that's been largely distributed online, and I'd like you to just close off for us by talking about how you leveraging your own audience has helped that production gain a larger platform.
Okay, my other life is I am a film scorer. I'm a music producer. And I had the opportunity to score and to act in a short film called Mwanawevu, which won its first award for Best Music Sound from the European Film Festival. Yeah. So I'm very excited about that. I think for me, and I think it goes for every artist in your own spaces, is that find a way to diversify what you do. Because in as much as people might see me as a performing artist, I have a lot to my skill set. The way I was found, what I do in my spare time is I make a cappella stacked versions of my recorded music. So it becomes very intricate in the way it's structured. And somebody came to me and said, would you like to sing on some songs for this film? And I said, no, I would like to produce some songs for that production. And I think a lot of artists and creatives just tend to box themselves into one sphere. Think of all the possible opportunities you could grab on by doing what you do, because she could just say, oh, I play Mamii and that's it. But she's a brand ambassador, she's for Fanta and all that thing and all that jazz, because she's found a way to diversify one thing and make it work for her in many ways. So that's how it came about, finding that I'm just not a performing artist. I can get into music production, I can do theater production, I can do a lot of things. So just because you may feel like you're someone with one talent, that one talent can give you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 streams of income. And I think on the other end is also people really underestimate what we call social capital. And a lot of people think that social capital is because you've reached a certain number of followers on Instagram, on TikTok, which is great, but social capital is how you influence even your immediate audience. Some people really think that, my break is going to come when I reach my first 10K. your break has already come because social media has unending possibilities. So you need to think out the box. To get to that 10K means you started with the momentum, so you need to keep the momentum. And you need to think of where you're going before you get there. Because it's too late, because by the time you've incurred 10K followers, they just see you as the person who started with 1 follower. And trying to switch it up at that point is very hard. So I hope that helps and answers.
Amazing. Let's give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.